Welcome to the Holistic Career Change Podcast. Spoiler alert, we don't discuss conventional, linear, boring career change here. This is the place where we talk about finding an aligned career path that feels like an extension of who you are, where you get paid for being yourself. Forget personality quizzes, soul-crushing scrolling on job sites, and breaking your brain trying to find your why. Join me and many other career changers who've changed their career holistically by first defining who they are at their core and then using this blueprint to design a fulfilling career or business. We use the mind-body-soul approach, and we take into consideration the complexity and multidimensionality of all that you are and want to represent in the world. This is where purpose-led careers are born and built. I'm your host, Vilma Oseita. Let's go. Hi, everyone. I hope you're doing so well. Oh my goodness, I have such an inspiring conversation to share with you today. And I know I say it every single time, but this one truly is. And it's with my client, Karol, who takes us on this incredible journey all the way back to her roots in the Dominican Republic, to achieving success in corporate America, and now becoming an EdTech entrepreneur who's built this value and purpose-driven training company. What I love about Karol's story is how relatable her challenges and also her aha moments are for so many of us, even if we have experienced different circumstances. She shares about moving to the US with very limited English to pursue her master's degree. She talks about navigating the corporate world while feeling like she often was honestly the odd one out in the room. And she opens up about that pivotal moment when she, despite her successful quote-unquote career on paper, she realized that she had lost her spark and that she felt like she was living someone else's life and she was not at the driver's seat anymore. We dive deep into how she transformed her career and is building this new venture by combining three seemingly unrelated passions of hers, which is gaming, coaching, and technology. But what makes the conversation special, I think, isn't just the destination or the goal that she has. It's the honesty with which Karol talks about her experiences. And she shares those moments of, self-doubt that every entrepreneur knows so well, those late night, oh my God, am I crazy? What am I doing moments? And how she learned that leaning into those really, really hard, tough moments instead of running away is really what makes such a difference and what allowed her to stay with this one idea, because she was a serial entrepreneur who would come up with a different idea every single day, but she just struggled to follow through. You'll also hear about the power of reading the signs that life sends us and the art of being strategic while staying authentic. I love that concept that Karol shares. And why trying to quantum leap, that also I know many of you are trying to do, that quantum leap to success often keeps us stuck at step one. So for anyone who's ever felt torn between a stable career and their big dreams, or struggled with putting themselves first after years of taking care of others, this episode is for you. Plus, Karol shares a perspective on corporate experience that I think will change how many of you view your current jobs, because it really is not just about paying the bills. It's about understanding that even though this job currently might be misaligned, it's still helping you build the resilience and the skills that you'll need to execute on your bigger mission. I'm such a fan of Karol's, and I really hope that you're ready for some serious inspiration, practical wisdom, and maybe a few aha moments of your own. Let's dive in. Hi, Karol. Welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you. It's so good to be here, Vilma.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Carol and I, we were just talking and laughing, and we were like, okay, we need to press record because we're both coaches and we get really excited and we nerd out. And in general, we're just like high energy people, I think, you and I, right?
Yes,
It's
yes,
fair to say we're high energy. So, and I just get so excitable in interviews. I'm like a puppy. So I was just like, I need to channel. Do you know Diary of the CEO, the podcast with
yes,
Bartlett? I
yes,
was like, I'm
yes,
gonna channel my inner Steven and be ground because he is such a great interviewer. Like I'm in awe of him, usually not even his guests.
yes.
I'm sure I'll probably fail, but anyway, okay, let's
No,
start
you
from
do
the
great.
beginning. Let's start from
Yes,
the
yes, yes.
beginning. So I'd love to hear your story because I find your story so inspiring, so fascinating even before we started working together, I think you've been already, you came into the process like with such an impressive resume and such an inspiring story. Would you mind sharing with the listeners like where you're coming from, who you are, whatever is coming through, please share with us.
Yes. So it's good that, I recently had to share this story because sometimes I'm so busy driving that I forget like how everything started. But I am Dominican. I was born in Dominican Republic. I moved to the United States to do my master's degree. And there is actually a really funny story there. I moved when I was 21. I finished my bachelor degree. I was in Puerto Rico. All of my friends were having, that's where I was raised. All of my friends were having a really great time on the beach. And I realized that if I stay here, I'm going to be at the beach 20 years from now. And is this going to be the life that I'm going to be like, oh my God, this is what I want to share. And I just felt I had so much more to give to the world and I wanted more. So with that, I decided, well, I always wanted to do my master's degree in the United States. I always wanted to go to school in the United States, right? Watching Greece, I was like, oh my God, is that how high school really is, And that obviously couldn't happen because I was already a bachelor, high school graduate. So from there, I had two brochures in my dad's house because back then there was no Google. And I remember it was either Marquette University or Florida International University. And those were the two brochures that were there. And for some reason, Florida International University drawn to me. And that's how I got here to the US and to do my master's. Graduated after a year and a half because my mom said, you only got a year and a half of my money. I do not have any more money. I had to take student loans because, someone had to pay for all of that. And, graduated with the best job out of my class. So I graduated with a job at Bank of America. And it was a true blessing in the beginning of my career in the corporate world. And now I've been there for 20 years and have worked with several corporations, Bank of America, USAA, Lufthansa, and H&R Block, and now Microsoft.
Wow, that sounds so impressive. And you're
Yeah.
just say it so nonchalantly, like it was nothing. I wanna pause, and what you said just blew my mind. When you were 20, 21, and you looked at your friends and you were like, if I don't do something, I'm gonna be in the exact same spot in 20 years doing the same thing. And that's
Yes.
like not enough for me. What do you think was it about that? Have you always had that drive, or was it just kind of like a moment where you had this realization?
I'd say I have, I'm very aware of people, and I think that that has been something that why I build a business that I have now as a coach. Like I am because of my childhood and how I was like my upbringing, I've had to be aware of people's emotions and almost predict what's going to happen next in a household that I was raised. I had to be very aware, and so I was always aware of things, and I saw a pattern in two different pathways for people. And it was the people who learned from other people's experiences and the people who wanted to experience it themselves. And I realized that quickly, and I still remember when my first job was a makeup artist. I was 16 because my mom had me all the modeling things, even though I was not a good fit for that life. But my mom wanted to live through me. And so I ended up being like, oh, maybe I could be a makeup artist because I learned how to do my own makeup. And I started working at 16 as a makeup artist. And I remember the owner of the makeup artist shop. And she invited me to her house to babysit. She's like, hey, I need a babysitter tonight for my kids. And I said, sure. And I went into her house, and it has its own individual elevator, and it has a view to the entire island of Puerto Rico. And it's in this penthouse where she lives, like Sex and the City, the richest. And I never seen anything like that in my life before. And I remember her, and she saw my eyes. I was like mesmerized, like I've never seen this. And I think the Libra in me was like, oh my God, luxury, right? I was so like excited. And she looked at my eyes and she said to me, follow your dreams. And that's all she said. And I have never forgotten that moment, Katerina. I have never forgotten that moment because I'm like, I did not know something like this would be possible, right?
Mhm.
Until that moment. And when she said that to me, stay with me. So I learned that people get further when you sometimes follow the advice or listen to the people that you feel like that's the life I want to have, right? So when I am in the beach with my friends and there's like a lot of turmoil and abusive relationships and drama that I'm like, oh my God, I hate drama. I don't want drama in my life, right? So I'm seeing all these things happening to all these people that I'm in the beach with. And I'm like, the beach was just a metaphor for the place I was at and where I was going to be. And
Mm.
if I stay there, I was going to end up in all these different situations and not in that situation where Katerina was at her penthouse. So when I saw that, I was like, okay, I need to learn from other people's experiences. I need to learn from this person's experience and see what is the pathway I need to get there. Oh, she went to school in the US. Well, I don't have that. And then I also started seeing that a lot of people around me had a bachelor degree. So when everybody has a bachelor degree, then nobody has it. So in order for me to get a better job, I need to go get my master's and try to be ahead of the bunch so I can get a better job, a better paying job. That was all that was after. Here's a caveat that I allow people to know. My plan was to go back to the island. So I was going to go
Mm.
to the US, finish my master's degree, and get back to the island with a better job because I do love my family and I do love living in an island. I just didn't want that life. But then the offer for Bank of America came along, and it was way more than I ever thought I will ever be making, especially at the age of 23.
Mm. Wow. I had goosebumps when you told me about that moment, right? When she was said to you, follow your dreams. I think that's just like a life defining moment. And I feel
Yes.
like it's such a beautiful story because to some extent you are that for young people or even all kinds of people, not even young, right? Where they look at you and be like, oh, I didn't know that was possible. And because you were there and you were doing what you're doing, and then we'll talk about what else you're doing and how you're pivoting, right? Like because you exist, that is an example of what's possible for so many other people. So I love like what a beautiful full circle moment. And I think what you didn't mention was that you didn't really speak good English as well. You said you told me in one of the sessions when you just came to study masters.
Yes. Yes. That was the other funny part of that story. I did not know how applying to school in the US worked. I didn't know how competitive it was. I
Mm.
just knew that they sometimes when I see Americans come into the island, and I wasn't paying attention to their English or how good it was. I was paying attention to two things. They only speak one language. I kind of speak two, right? Because my English was purely conversational. It was Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and Full House. That was the level of my English, right? And that was it. And then but I'm like, oh no, I'm pretty smart. I'm probably smarter than some of these people that I'm interacting with here and in some of the jobs that I held. I work at a advertising agency when I was younger, after that makeup artist job. And like I met a lot of like clients like Budweiser and all this like different people from marketing agencies. And I'm like, okay, so where it gets funny is that I only applied to one school and I did not speak like good English. Like it was hard to understand. Like you would not have be able to understand me. But I still had to go to the US and get a master's degree. So I had to figure out how to learn English once I got there. But more importantly, I only applied to one school and I took the GRE and I only put one school down on paper, which is not how it gets done here in the US. Here you have to apply to like five schools and pray that one picks you. It gets
Mm.
even crazier with the fact that I moved there in June. The classes start in September, and I moved 10 minutes away from the school without knowing if I was accepted or not.
Oh wow. I don't
So
know.
I
Is that confidence or is that something else?
no, I don't think it was It's like I really did not know how it was going. I didn't know
You were
until
just, well, I applied and just gonna go to
I
school. Let
applied.
me
I'm going to
move.
that school. I got the GRE scores. My English scores and in the GRE were terrible, but I'm really good at math. So I almost aced the math, which
Mm.
made up for my lack of English. And I just moved 10 minutes away from the school. And I'm like, I'm going to the school and I'm going to this program and it started in September. And I started working overnight shifts at a hotel because I did needed to maintain myself and I needed hours during the day to study. And I was watching more Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and Full House to learn English. And I got accepted a day before. I was one of the late acceptances and I got into the program. And I still remember telling my finance teacher, because the first semester was rough because I was learning English while I was going through school. And thankfully, I only took like 1.5 class. And I'm sitting there with her. I'm like, look, I just need to pass. That I know this was rough for you and for me. And we both were immigrants and we both had an accent. So it was like for me to understand her English and for her to understand mine, you could imagine. So I think she gave me a solid. She's like, you're not gonna get an A here, but let's make sure you pass. And I did. And then the next semester I got straight A's. And
Oh,
I
wow.
got straight A's all after because I already had grasped
Mm.
kind of like the language a little bit. But I still have an accent. And to be honest, one of the things that I think holds us back as immigrants is the fact that we're trying to speak a perfect English and not acknowledge the fact that one, you speak more than one language. That's like incredible. You're never going to speak as good as someone that only speaks one. Like it's just not going to happen. Their brain is completely dedicated to that one language. I think it's more beautiful. And something that allowed me to learn my English faster and be unafraid of my accent is the fact that, look, you're going to understand me. You know what I'm saying. And if you don't, then it's okay. I keep it moving. Where I see a lot of people that feel like I shouldn't say this or I shouldn't be speaking or they don't understand me. Like that self-awareness leads you to not fully be able to grasp the language or speak it freely. And it
Mm.
slows you down. That perfectionism. My daughter understands Spanish and reads Spanish, but she wants to be perfect in Spanish and it holds her back from being bilingual. And that's the number one thing I say to people. You speak your truth. You speak the way you speak. And if other people
Mm.
don't understand you, because of your accent, not because of what you're saying, that is more on them being able to adapt their ear to the fact that we are a multicultural pot in the world and that
Mm.
we all need to adapt to people having different accents.
That's such a powerful reframe. I think for a lot of us, right, who are not native speakers, I think that is such a beautiful thing. I remember this reminds me of the story when I went to London to study. And English accent obviously is a little bit of a challenge as well. And I was
Yes.
18 and I only learned English at school, but I think I was okay. But I remember I started going to yoga class and our yoga teacher was French. She was living in England for like 40 years. She had the strongest French accent you can. I wouldn't understand the asanas that she was telling because her accent was so strong. And I remember I was mesmerized. I was like, how is it that someone lives in a country for 40 years? And look, my English, I used to have an English accent when I used to live in England because I would just adapt. And I was like,
Yes.
how is it that you still have an accent? And she said, because I'm proud of being French and I want everyone to know where I'm from when I speak to them. And she
Mm,
actually meant that. And I was like, wow.
that's
I
beautiful.
never looked at it that way. She was like, no, that's my culture. I represent my culture with my accent, and I'm proud of that. I don't want to
Yes.
sound English because I'm not English,
I
right?
love that. I
Right? It's
love
a
that.
little bit like that. Like with our accent, you bring all of that experience. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. I want to ask you about your corporate experience
Yes.
because you mentioned all of these big multinational brands that we all know about. What was it like for you being a woman, being an immigrant, looking different than a lot of your colleagues and still
Mhm.
trying to rise through the ranks? What was your experience like? I know it's a massive question. We can write a book about it, but
Yeah.
just like
Yes.
what's coming up for you when you hear this question?
Um, what it comes up for me, not just my experience, but the experiences of my clients that I have had to coach through it, and how it repeats itself so many times and again and again and again. Um, I think what comes to mind is I'm not gonna say it was easy in the sense of, but I didn't sign up for easy. So right. I signed
Mm.
up for for having a life that I felt like it was memorable. Um, so instead of focusing sometimes on the unfairness of it not being easy, I saw it as I'm building a resilience that they will never have because they will not know how it feels to have to struggle this hard to get somewhere. And where I am right now in this journey that I am in now, that experience has served me well because resilience is what I have the most to give. But it hasn't been easy from the standpoint of you can't, there's a lot of stereotypes in corporate America. I have been in probably in 15 years, I have always been either the youngest one in the room or the only Black woman in the room or the only Latina woman in the room or the only woman, period. I remember when I held a role a department where I managed about 1,700 people in a financial service industry. And there were 26 of us managing about the same amount department. And then of the 26, three were women. And of those three women, I was the only one with young children. So I had an additional level of hardship that they did not have. And then every single man that was in that position had a for the most have a stay-home wife mom taking care of the kids. So they didn't have to even think about, I need to get home to make dinner for my kids at night. Right.
Mm.
So that alone, right, presents like I need to get done what they do better in less amount of time. Right. And that was a challenge. And sometimes I think looking back, I just sometimes put unrealistic expectations of myself. There were times where I didn't have the emotional intelligence to sometimes maybe handle it as well as I should have. Uh, there were times that I would become really resentful with some of my peers. Just like, and I remember I had this, her name was Carrie Scott, and she was my leader. And when I first met her, Dominican Black woman as well, I was like, oh, she thinks she's all that. I was a very like, when I first met her, we got along just great. When she became my manager, I saw her differently. I'm like, oh, I felt very like, my arrogance and I've been here doing this for a long time. I've worked with like was very high. And I was like, okay, why is she like she was very strong, too strong woman at the beginning, gonna ruffle feathers a little bit. But then I grew to respect her a lot. And she's actually now one of my clients, which is like incredible. But what I love the most about her is she was the one who stopped the comparison game for me. If I can say anything to any woman in the corporate world, it is going to be unfair, but the comparison game is going to kill you.
Mm.
And she was the one who snapped it. And I was like, well, this person won all these awards and this person did all of this and they don't work as hard as I do. And you have no idea how hard I work. And I'm telling this to my now female leader, Chris. And I remember her saying it to me. And she was very polite, very polished, very like together. And like I always like admired that about her. But for the first time, she let her hair down and she said to me, what is it to you? What he does and what he doesn't do. And I have never heard her talk like this real ever. So for me, I was like, it just took me back. And I'm like, it's like, what can you control? Can you control him or can you control you? And how you come across is something you can control. So from there, I was like, wow, I'm spending so much time thinking about how John has a stay-at-home wife and I don't, how John, gets all these accolades and I don't, how like so much time there that I was wasting my time instead of putting it back at me. Now, I'm not gonna say that it's gonna be peaches and cream. I do remember, like for example, now you see me with my hair curly and like wearing it out. Like this happened because of COVID. For the longest time, I try to blend in. I flat iron my hair. I was like, I
Aw.
was under the perception where I could only be professional if I had straight hair, right? And that was just me constantly trying to fit into a world. When I got married, I took my then husband's last name. I try to fit in so much. And I think during that time, when I had her as my leader, a lot of things happened in my life that I started washing away all these things where I try to fit in. And what I
Mm.
will tell you is there's a difference between fitting in and being strategically and smart enough to read a room and understand what you have to do to get promoted. and it should never have to involve your own authenticity.
Mm,
And
yeah.
that was a hard lesson, but it was the one that I needed to learn.
100%. And I love your hair. Your hair is such a big part of who you are and your identity. And I
Thank you.
remember I even caught you. We'll talk about the business you're building because would you remember when you went to London and you said, I think I need to do a ponytail and
I
iron my
do
hair. And I was
remember
like, no, you're
that.
not gonna do that. You're not gonna do that.
I remember that.
You're
And
not
I
gonna do
did what
that.
you said. And I did what you said. And it feels different for me too, right? Like I think you, I still have, because it's more than just corporate, right? Like my father's views also. My dad is a Black Dominican man, right? You see him and you see Muhammad Ali, you will not tell them apart, right? And you know, his perspective was that his hair was not good enough. So when I
Mm.
grew up and I had my hair, I remember when I was 18, he'll tell me, you have that Bob Marley hair. You were the Bob Marley hair everywhere, right? And it was
Goodness.
his own beliefs that was what's installed in him, and then he passed it on to me, and now I
Yeah.
am here, right? And for me, wearing my hair like this, one of the best rewards I have received recently was going to my daughter's school, and they did this exercise called the best of me, and you had to take a picture of your favorite thing of yourself, and my daughter pictured her hair,
Oh.
and she put it up on the screen, and she said, my hair makes me feel beautiful. Hair is my favorite part of my body. And going from seeing that from me being a young girl wanting to, if you would ask me, what's the number one thing you will change about yourself? The number one thing I'll tell you is my hair. And now seeing my daughter elevating and praising her hair, like that's how you break generational trauma. And that makes me happy. So when I wear my hair curly, I'm also telling my daughter, you're beautiful and your hair is perfect.
That is so powerful. I was about to say, like, you broke the generational pattern. Because
Yeah.
if it goes unquestioned, right, your daughter sees you hiding and ironing and flat and making your hair look quote unquote white, right? So you
Yeah.
could fit in, she will do
Yeah.
the same. So I love that they're proud of it. And then you have a beautiful son who also
Yeah.
sees your hair like that now. And he's probably all he's seen, right? Because he is
Yes, it's all
essentially,
he's
right?
seeing. Yes.
Yeah.
And
You're
the few
wild.
times that I try to like make it different, he looks at me like you're not mama. Like where are you doing? Like where's my mom, you know? So he's hilarious.
I love that. Oh my goodness. There's so much goodness, but we haven't even started talking about what you're doing now. So let me kind of change gears.
Yes.
So you're obviously very impressive, very interesting, fascinating woman. And
Thank
so I
you.
remember when you booked a call with me, I was like, I checked your website and I was like, what kind of help does she need from me? That woman is sorted. She's in corporate, she's a coach, she's beautiful, she's strong, she's done so well for herself. What is it? Like, what's happening? So, can you talk to me a little bit? So, you've had this amazing career in corporate, you're still in corporate, right? You're working on your transition. What was it that started to feel like it's missing or something is off that you were like, I think I need to get some support?
Oh, yes, definitely. Well, the funny thing is, you would have asked my husband, oh, she got it together. He would have laughed at that statement so hard for where I was back then, right? Because sometimes we see what we want the world to see, but we don't know what's going on behind closed doors. So first, I think so. Yeah, Giancarlo, my son, was a year old, right? So I just became a mother for the second time. We went through some major life changes that drove us to where we're here today, and just life didn't feel settled. Like it didn't. It felt like, you know, and this is something I learned from our coaching. And so just stop. To be here with you today in this podcast is beyond I would honor because I met you for the first time through your podcast. I was listening to your podcast and I'm like, oh, I like what she's talking about. This feels like me. And the episode was the female versus masculine energy alignment. And that felt so on point for me because I felt like my creativity was all over the place. So I knew that there was something uncomfortable. I just started a new job in tech. I had my son Giancarlo. We just moved into this area, and for a moment, for some reason, my life felt like it was being defined by everything outside of me, but not myself. And
Mm.
at the moment, I couldn't put words into it, but now I can. The way my energy works and my brain works, I can start projects and finish them really fast, and I can organize things very fast. And my brain is a very fast, you know, execution brain. So I was starting businesses, starting ideas. I had a new business idea every week. I had a new thing that I wanted to do. I'm a writer. I love writing. So I had like a children's books like that I wanted to do. But I was like, no, I think I'm gonna do a children's book. No, I think I'm gonna quit my job because even though I've been a video gamer all my life, I'm so honored to be able to work at Xbox for Microsoft. So my team manages this store at Xbox. So every single video game you see on a console, my team did that, right? So
Wow.
that's pride, right? Like we manage huge amounts of revenue. We handle 80 million users a day, right? So like when you think about that, it's like, wow, you have the perfect job. What are you looking for, right? Like you already got there. So
On
now I've
paper.
got,
Yeah.
yes.
Mhm.
And then I have a manager that, regardless is still corporate, he's still like a person that cares and wants to help. And it's like, so I'm getting all these things right, but I'm still feeling like there's more and it's not enough. And I'm finding all these different venues. So I never hired a coach. This is the most hilarious thing. I'm a coach that has never hired a coach before to I have hired a coach for the job, right? So to help me perform, but never for myself. And the
Mm,
whole holistic coaching thing was new to me, right? I wasn't really very aware of it. So that led me to you, which I'm super grateful for. But that's what was happening in my life at that moment. In paper, I look great. On my LinkedIn, you would have never known. But when I was at home, I was constantly trying to figure out what can make me feel more whole because I feel like I'm just living someone else's life.
that's such a common, I think, feeling for a lot of highly successful individuals or like overachievers when they achieved a lot and they know they could achieve more, but something starts to feel like they're missing or they're like not really the driver of their life. And like my
Yeah.
life is taking me places, I'm showing up, I look impressive, but I feel kind of empty inside,
Yes.
right?
That is crazy to think about because we always think when we get there, it's gonna be all better.
When I get that promotion, when I get that husband, when
Yes.
I get that baby, when I move to the States, but there's just dangling carrots. So if we're not working and finding wholeness inside of us, is just you're never gonna win. And I also want to highlight what you said about having a lot of interest because I feel like it's a very common thing for people. What really keeps them stuck from executing. Like you said, I'm a great executor and I have a lot of ideas. But when it comes to, I think what was the thing that you probably struggled with is following through and actually executing till the end. But like you can execute and you do it quickly, but what was happening, I think you were avoiding to execute on really big visions
Yes.
for
Yes.
yourself, not for Microsoft. You're good at Microsoft to do that,
Yes.
but for
Yes.
Karol.
Yes. I think I was trained to take care of everything around me before
Mm,
I took care of myself. I got to take
yeah.
care of my husband, make sure he's good, make sure my son is good, make sure my daughter's good, make sure my family is good, my sister feels loved, my mother feels loved, right? Especially as an older sister. And you were my 40th year birthday.
Yeah.
So I was like, I am going to pour into myself, hiring someone that is just looking into my life, not my sons, not my daughter, not Microsoft, but me. And to be able to say, I'm going to hire a coach. I was grateful it was you because we align in so many belief systems that made it so much easier. But I think that's part of the interview, right? Like it's like we get to know each other and see if it's a good fit. But that was that was probably the best investment I could have done in my life. And I cannot say that it could have happened at any other moment in my life. It had to happen in that moment.
Because you were not ready.
And it was definitely not. I
You're
was
not ready.
definitely not. I definitely was not. I do remember you asking me, it's like, is this the right time? Because just a lot of things have just ended past. And it was the right time because they have ended and passed. But like even building what I'm building now has helped me grow in so many areas. And I have learned
Mhm.
so much through the work that I could have not gained any other way.
About yourself. Yeah. So
Yeah.
let's talk about that a little bit. So I think what was happening, like we said, I want to highlight for those of you who also have a lot of ideas, and then you get so tired of your own brain sometimes.
Yes.
Because the brain keeps on delivering all of these things that you think are really cool, and you start them and you drop them and you have another idea, and it's kind of this rut that leaves people really drained, right? And they almost don't know how to get out of it. And I think like what happens, the common trap is like they're almost like looking for the right idea And I am a big advocate of alignment. That's why people hire me. It's like, what's your
Mhm.
alignment? And I think with you, Karol, what it was when we started talking about this long-term vision, right? And I remember you telling me, I really want to help other Latinas. I really want to have a
Mhm.
channel in Spanish and support, offer support that I think like is lacking. And it felt like a really big lofty vision, but it still felt like there was a step missing in between
Mhm.
to get you from your corporate career to kind of that place where you can really just, we laughed, like you can, and you did buy a house in Puerto Rico, by the way, but like be in your
Did.
house, write your children's books and do all of these things, right? It felt like we were missing that bridge step, that ship
Mhm.
that could take you to that vision. And I
Mhm.
think at first there were parts of you that were a little bit resistant of like, okay, how can I, answering the question of like, how can I leverage my experience and my passions and my connection and awareness that I have of people, but build it kind of differently, channel it differently that would provide that exit plan for me. Can you talk a little bit about that?
It's so real. Like I just it's something that I still am shocked about how sometimes you live your leg to put the foot down and the place where you're going to place your foot is still not there, but you're gonna like it gets there. Like kind of like the universe how it works. And I remember I used to be very aligned with the universe. I felt when I was 21, 22, and I feel like somewhere, somehow I lost alignment. And I know what my purpose is. I am in this world to help other women, period.
Mm.
I am here to, in any way, shape, or form, bring other women up with me, whether it's spiritually, emotionally, in any way. I'm not saying that I don't need help myself, like we all do, but in more of a community way, in more of a togetherness way, because we never stop. We never stop growing. We never stop caring. But I do think that that's kind of like the purpose that I'm here for. Now, the way to get there, I wanted to jump it. I wanted to jump, and I didn't know because you don't know. The step 1 to 7 to get me to 8, 9, 10. I was like, okay, so I'm gonna skip all this. I'm gonna
Quantum
only,
leap, skip all
yeah,
the inner work.
yeah. I think, yeah. And I'm great for that. I'm like, let's skip what therapy? No, I have an Excel sheet with all my traumas. We're gonna keep like, no. So like you do have to go through a therapy. But needless to say, jump and just do it. And I'm like, okay, we're gonna start a YouTube channel, we're gonna help other women, we're gonna bring other women in, we're gonna start giving advice, we're gonna do all that. And now more than ever, that seems like wild to me because how it's coming up and how it's showing up for me to even help women, Latino women specifically, or from any other part of the world, is coming up in a way that I have never even thought it would.
Mm.
When I met you, I was going to quit my coaching firm and I was tired.
Yeah.
And you're like, hold up, are you tired of coaching? I'm like, I'm just tired of the whole thing. I'm gonna leave it. It's drop. I'm gonna write children's book, sing on my hammock, and like that's it. And I'll work at McDonald's and make it. You're like, wait, hold up, what is happening right now, right? I was exhausted. And with you, I'll give this exercise that you gave me because I think it was so powerful. But you asked me to, okay, every time you got a new idea, I just need you to put it on a piece of paper. I don't want you to execute it, I don't want you to do anything. I just want you to write it down. And we analyze it together. And that part of analyzing together, the list anybody can create. Also, I never thought about doing that. But you and I analyzing it together and you being able to, as an outside perspective, tell me, because like Karol, 98% of everything here kind of goes together. It's kind of all the
Mm.
same thing. And all of this can get done through what you created as your coaching company. And I'm like, no, there's no way, right? Like, I'm completely in disbelief. And then when I was about to quit, I was like, I was still gonna quit. A client shows up and says, hey, I need you by Friday. You're gonna get paid this much more this money, blah, blah, blah. And I remember telling you, can you believe just when I said that? And your lesson was like, go and journal, right? So I went there, journal, came back, and I realized that everything that I hate about my coaching company is everything that could be outsourced, which is the sending the email, the following up, the contacting the client, like these little things that are nothing to do with the actual coaching, nothing to do with the actual practice, nothing to do with connecting with people that I love. But it was just draining me to have to follow up with the emails, contact the company with the licenses, make sure the license, like all of that was draining me. Plus, let's not forget, I have 2 kids and a full-time job. When you and I determined that, I was like, okay, then maybe there's something here. And we started making what is now my company, which I don't see it as a bridge as much anymore. But at that moment, I was like, okay, let's build the bridge.
That was the only way that I could sell this idea for you. as a bridge. It's my
I'm glad
trick.
you
Now
did.
I'm telling you the truth. Now you know.
Now I'm glad you know. But it was like that moment, I'm like, we're building a bridge. It's okay. It's just a bridge. Let's build a bridge. And I'm
Yes.
like, so but it was such an important moment because now what I've created is so much more. But there were words that will come up for me. And you think you know this. Like when we were talking, I was like, I don't know, the word company feels right. The word training company feels right to me. And you're like,
Mm.
okay, let's go into that. And like we will hone into those one words. Something you said I want to bring up is when you talk about the signs, I'm following the signs. Like I was that person before. I'm like, no, the signs told me this. I saw this and I didn't realize how far away from being aligned when I was constantly searching from signs. Everything was a sign. Until now, I know it doesn't necessarily work like that, even though we do feel like it does. But yeah, so I
I
wanted
think
to
we
be.
still get the signs right, but I think the signs that are meant for you, and I think even once you started building the company, there were so many times you would show up on a call and you'd be like, "Well, I just got this money, and I think like almost like out of the blue, I think I'm gonna use it. This is the exact amount." Remember, you said I just got money that this was the exact amount I needed to put forward for my business, right?
Yes,
To pay my vendors or whatever it was, right? And there were so many situations like that where like when it's really a line sign, it like hits you in the face where you can't ignore it.
yes, oh yes,
Versus me looking at the black cup and trying to understand what's the meaning of it and is it a sign that is like something is like it's a bad
yes.
luck, it's bad juju, like I don't think I should build a business. Does that make sense? Like a
Yes,
real sign
yes.
will smack you in the face, and you had those moments, didn't you?
I still have them. I still have them. And I will tell you, there's been times that it gets really tough because building my own business now, it gets tough and you're like, oh my God, what am I doing? Like, this is crazy. And those moments where you feel like you're just about to give up or you're just about to quit or you're just about to shift. That's something that I've never done before or learn. I always shift. I'm a master shifter. I'm a master your breakthrough is just around the corner.
Yes.
And that was such a big one for me. And I still see it. And it just happened 4 weeks ago. And I'm like, oh my God, if I would have let my emotions keep me home and not take this trip, I would have not found out about this. I would have not been able to build what I'm building right now. And it just takes you giving up that one time. And it might take another year for it to show up again.
Yes. I love this. It's like leaning into that. And there are definitely moments where we talk about it. And I also want you to share about what kind of business it is. But like there are
Right.
so many moments, right, in entrepreneurship, especially when you're building, the beginning is such an up and down journey. Like where one day you sign a client, you get a client, you're on top of the world, and you're like, this is fucking working. This is gonna be
Yes.
because you and I we always say like this is a multi-million dollar business. Like we both sense it. Like we don't see
Yes.
it yet, but energetically it's that, right?
Yes,
And you're like,
definitely.
there are moments you're like, fucking goddess, I'm gonna quit my job, I'm gonna build this. And then the next day you like wake up with anxiety and then you cry yourself to sleep in anxiety and you think you're crazy and you lost it and you've just wasted all this money building this business.
Yes.
And then in those moments, like you say, if you stay, if you don't make rash decisions, remember, like
Yes.
short-term emotions, we don't make long-term decisions when we're in short-term
Yes.
emotions. Because when you're tired, your baby's not sleeping, you have trouble, your kitchen was being renovated.
Oh my God, I remember
To
that.
remember like the drama that Karol had when their kitchen was being renovated. And there was stuff at work and all of it comes together. You're like, I can't do this. But then
Yes.
if you just continue, you like wake up. And then I follow Leila Hormozi. Well, you know Hormozis, you're a
Oh
fan.
yeah,
You
I
have their
love her.
books,
Yeah.
like, and
Yeah.
the thing that she always says is like, fuck your mood, follow the plan. You will not feel
Yes.
like working out. You will not sometimes feel like working on the business, and magic happens when you do. Like it's almost like a computer game. You get to the next
Yeah.
level. You level up, right? And I feel like for you, like so many times when we would meet and you said, Vilma, you don't know how hard it is for me to stay with this one idea. And I would tell you, it's like breaking your bones. It's like you are being reimagined, built together because you're changing your patterns.
Yes. Yes, I am. And today I feel the closest to that 21-year-old version of myself that I ever have. The girl that immigrated from, the island into the US because I then had a plan and I had to follow through and it got tough. And every time I wanted to quit, I didn't. And this feels very much aligned again. And it just feels so good. I never want to let it go. I want to continue to lean in it.
Yeah. Well, it's your third baby now.
Yes, it is definitely is. And the last.
But I also want to highlight what you said about how sometimes, when we're tired, we tend to throw the baby with the bathwater. So when you're like, I want to close my coaching company, and that's why I asked you, I was like, go there and notice how you feel when you're in the training, in front of the people, supporting them, offering coaching, listening to them. Because I know when you stand in front of people, magic happens.
Yes. I have a question for you. When you first met me and I was like, I'm going to quit my coaching business, what thought came to your mind? Did I feel to you like a coach? Like it's like why like this is the
Oh,
path, this is the way.
yeah, no, you definitely are a coach. Like even if you are
Yeah.
not coaching, you're like your essence is that of a coach or
Yeah.
of, someone who's here to support and empower and inspire people.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, but you see, when I'm coaching, it's a really good question. I don't think because I don't
Mm,
have any agendas with my clients. My agenda is listening to you and making sure whatever you decide feels true for you in the moment.
I love that.
And if it's true for you in the moment, then I can go to 3D and help you implement that and break it down.
Yes.
That's why sometimes some of the ideas that you give me, I'd be like, I'm not sure that's like the best alignment for you right now. That's my only question.
Yes.
Because that
Yeah.
feels too small.
And the value of that, I love that you bring that up because I think that's the value of your coaching there, especially for a person that in corporate, you're surrounded by people with agendas,
Mm,
surrounded, right? And then sometimes in your personal life, your parents have their own agendas. They want you to be the perfect daughter, the perfect mother, the perfect life. Everybody has like some, but when you go to a holistic coach with your approach, it's such a different nerve that touches your brain of you're just focused on what you need, not what I think is best for you, but
yeah,
what I want you to be aligned with. And I think that for me was super powerful and very helpful.
yeah. My commitment to someone's alignment puts me in uncomfortable positions because sometimes I need to advocate for something that may cause trouble at home with
Mm,
your partner.
yeah,
When you
yeah.
express that you have this need and desire, and the partner sometimes is not always supportive.
Hmm.
And then how to navigate this kind of advocating for your alignment and for your truth and for your purpose, but at the same
Yeah.
time holding space and helping you navigate the relationship.
Yes,
Because that is
yes,
very important too, because that
it
is a
is.
big part of your life.
It
Um,
is.
let's talk about your company.
Yes.
Can you share with the people? So what did you decide? What are you building? Because I think it's so brilliant, so exciting. Can you just share a little bit
Yeah.
more on what's happening?
So in the journey and discovering what I wanted to create and the word company coming up, and then how I coach and how I feel I bring the most impact. My clients love my one-on-one coaching, and I enjoy being one-on-one with them and just giving that insight, and the value is immeasurable for them. But it was from a scalability standpoint, it was taking a lot of my time, right? You're trading hours for time. And but I did, and I think I shared this with you. I want to share with groups of people. I don't want just to keep it between me and you. I love team. That's why we've specialized on teams on HRK trainings. But I'm like, I want more than just a one-on-one that's just giving you all of this to one person. I want more people to be able to take advantage of it, right? So with that, HRK Trainings was born. So before that, I had my own coaching firm. It was called Hi Karol, and it was I will coach executives, I will coach teams, I'll do team dynamics, I'll come in. Now, I used to specialize on remote teams. I have managed remote teams for over 15 years. So I've always had remote teams, whether there were 5 or 1,700 people, they have never been in the same location. So when COVID happened, then suddenly all these people it's like, okay, we're all remote and I'm expected to still drive performance, motivate my team, keep them engaged. So what I realized that we have a target audience for that. And well, something that I always enjoy doing is gaming and entertainment and trying to figure out how to keep people engaged. So I knew it was going to be a training company. And I knew I was going to use a lot of technology to be able to do that. And I also know that I know video games and I know gamification. So, but what I didn't know when I was building it is that all of these things that I am was going to be in one place. And it's the most insane universe thought provoking thing that I've ever done. And when we created HRK trainings, then we started creating, okay, I need to create a profile for each client. So when I do training, let's say right now we have a client, we're doing the entire C-suite right now, and each of them have a different training. Each training is not like the other. I hate when training companies come in. I was one of them. Come in, give you a training, leave. You never hear from them. You never know from them, and they go. And then, okay, where's the learning? I talked to you 6 months later. You forgot everything I taught you. It's just draining. So I created a program where each particular person gets their own training. So every person's training doesn't look like the other. We use their Gallup profiles because we use Gallup as a tool. We also use Desk. We other have other tools, but that's one of the main ones we have. And we use that to create your own particular training developed for you. We're going to teach you the same pillars: communication, synergy, self-awareness, self-acceptance, all of those, but all of them are individual. I don't like one size fits all training, and that's why we created. So we had to create our own platform to do that because I could go to Thinkful, I could go to Teachable, but they were not going to be able to draw an individually based training. So we hire an ocean architect. We created our own platform, and that was the first digital platform that we created in order to create this. And within that, I found out, which is hilarious, as I'm doing this research, that what our company is an EdTech company, right? Education technology company, which it was so funny because all I thought in my mind was like, oh, I want to build a training company. And then as I'm doing research, like, well, you're an EdTech. Next thing I know, I get an interview by London EdTech Week. And we get selected as one of the speakers there. We go there, present our work. And, it's just, I've met other founders that are in the EdTech industry. And for the first time, I think in 20 years, I met my tribe of people. And I realized that everything that I have built for the last 20 years don't fit into one thing that I'm building.
Oh, wow. I'm getting goosebumps as you say that. Isn't that crazy? Because
I
you're
know.
right. It is like, and sometimes I hear people say like, oh my goodness, I wasted 20 years not living my life. But what people sometimes don't see, because, hindsight is 2020, but like it's understanding how every single thing you experienced and learned, there was a reason for that.
Yes.
The only thing
Yes.
that you haven't done yet is connected the dots and understood how it can serve you. So like this
Yes.
company is a epitome, the culmination, right, of
Yes.
gamification and tech and education and empowering people and making them feel seen, because that's something I think you're very good at, like helping people, like in your present, people feel seen.
Thank you.
And I think
A great
truly
compliment.
like what you're building is about helping the managers see their people,
Mhm.
right? And for the managers to understand themselves better and their style, like all of that is really serving the corporate world where we need that. Like,
Yes.
right? We need that because you always, you say like, listen, there are so many things that are wrong in corporate. Now what? What are we going to do about it? Are we going to
Yes.
bitch about it? Or are we going to offer a solution? And I
Yes.
think you're
Oh,
part of the solution.
thank you. That's one of the biggest compliments I could receive because, you know, no, people are not going to stop working in corporate. You're still going to have people with corporate jobs. The part that I'm grateful to Microsoft where I work now is that one, they know that employees are going to have a side hustle or a hobby. I know so many people with a podcast at Microsoft, so many people with their own YouTube channel to talk about video games. I know, like, but they allow that as long as it's not a conflict of interest because you're going to shine brighter because you're doing something that you love. Also, they know not everybody here is going to be Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, right? So you're gonna have to have other ways in which you enrich those things. But all I feel for the last 20 years, even though there's been hard days, and even though I still have them, right? That there's like, oh my God, this person or this situation, right? I always go by like, I'm so grateful for the experience that had led me to where I am. And I'm so grateful that I was at Microsoft when I had to be. I'm so grateful I was hired here. I'm grateful of everything I've learned. And every single thing that I've done has led to this.
Yes. I love that. I'm so excited about that. And I love
Thank
the
you.
gratitude, right? Because I feel like I coach on that a lot. People in general, right? Where they're feeling so burnt out and upset with their job. So it's almost like what's happening. You're looking at the job and you're upset about this and your boss and your canteen food and everything is just bad, when you're in that state, right?
Yes.
But then it's almost like, what are you doing? You're wasting energy similar to what you said at the beginning, where it was a shift when you joined corporate of like, well, corporate is corporate. It's neither good or bad.
Yeah.
It just is. And the feelings and the thoughts and the stories you're attached to it is what creates feelings for you. You can choose to attach a neutral, at least neutral story. This is
Yes.
what it is. I accept for what it is. It's not a match long term, but right now we're in a relationship.
And also here's something that I really understood had to understood. And because when I coach you, sometimes I'll come to you exhausted. But how are you going to be not, how are you not going to feel grateful for the one thing that is funding your dream? Because right now, this is the one and only thing funding your dream, funding your sustainability. I am beyond grateful that I have an amazing partner that supports my journey and also helps supports the household while I'm building something. But I also need to still provide. We need health insurance. We're in America. It's a real expense and a real liability. But like for me, I'm like, okay, I just need to get my company to the place where that's not gonna even be a question. Uh,
Yes.
and we can go from there. So like feel very grateful. I'm also very honest and upfront about my journey and what I do with everyone in my company. Actually, I have one of my leadership in like my manager's manager is going to be one of my interviewees in one of the podcasts we're going to have about how to manage remote teams, and she's thrilled. So
Wow.
I think that you just have to really lean in into this is what I'm doing, and I make it clear to my manager like I am not going to shed on the bed that is feeding my family. So this is what right now is taking care of my family. I'll make sure that I am performing at my best here, but I
Yeah.
also know that where my heart is and where I'm going. If I didn't have that, I will be showing up in a very ungrateful place because I'm
Yeah.
like, I feel like this is all I have. This is all I'm gonna do. I've been in corporate America 20 years, and I said this to someone that was putting negative energy and doubt on me. And it was like, you're gonna do this, you have a great career, you can keep going up in Microsoft, you can retire early. Like they were like putting all these different things. And I said, there's this Matrix scene where he's in the car and they just took something out of his stomach. And he opens the door to go down the street. And this girl holds him back and says, you know where that path leads.
Oh, goosebumps.
Yes. So I'm like, so if I stay in corporate 15 more years, I know exactly what I'm going to be doing for the next 15 years of my life because I've been doing it for the last 20. It's
Mm.
now my time to figure out my own path. And guess what? Corporate will always be there.
Yes.
It's in that I think sometimes we put this like, oh my God, if I leave this job, it's over. You're never like, no, you bring your experience with you everywhere you go. You just need to make sure you don't burn any bridges.
Yeah. 100%. Don't burn bridges. Don't be like me. I definitely burned some bridges. I was very angry
Sometimes,
at
it
corporate.
happens. It has happened to me too. And we're like, oh, but it's important, especially with
No,
something like that.
100%. I want to
Yeah.
say something like, if you don't mind, I'm gonna share
Yeah.
some let's story. One thing that I coach about because you said the keywords, health insurance. Do you remember when you were really stressed out when we coached on like you leaving corporate because we had
Yes.
timelines and we were playing with different things because you're like, no, I really want to have an exit plan, which you are building.
Yes.
And you were like, but Vilma, but I can't quit because the health insurance is so expensive. Do you remember? And I said, well, how much
Yes.
is it? Just account for that and make sure that your business provides hundreds that. It's still going to be
Yes.
part of your expenses. There's nothing else, but yeah, it's very expensive. So what?
Yes.
So what?
Yes. Yes. And also like that's one of the reasons we're moving to Puerto Rico too, right? Once,
Yeah.
our kids are at a certain age, like we are accounting for the fact that me and my husband will both be entrepreneurs. We will both be doing our own things. And like we want cheaper costs of living. We want our kids to be bilingual. Like the stories we tell ourselves are
Mm,
so powerful and can be so debilitating or it can build you up.
yeah.
And the story I was telling myself is I need insurance. Why? Because health insurance. I need a W-2. Because why? W-2 is a secure job. I need like all these things that get ingrained in us. And that's why I am so excited for the things that we're building at HK trainings, because for me, it's all about individuation and separating yourself about like all these things that they put in your mind and in your head that you should be, could be, all these like norms that become like a book for you and you never stop. And then happens like what happened to me when I came to you, right? Everything looks great on paper, but inside I'm like, I don't feel aligned. I don't feel like I'm living to what I want to live and I'm taking care of everybody but myself.
Mm. And you know what's the worst part? A lot of these stories aren't questioned. We report them as news.
Yes.
And
Like when I
that's
came
when
to
we
you
are
with the health
stuck.
insurance.
Yeah, when you're like, Wilma, I can't quit because I was like, listen, I know in the States this is very expensive. I get it. I honor
Yes.
that.
Yes.
But also, like, what are you talking about? Like, why is that a thing?
Yes.
So I love
Yes.
that. So hopefully that's helpful because I know that like to your point, like, oh, this is safety. No, the only safety you have is investing in yourself. That's the only safety you'll ever
Yes.
have.
Yes.
Building new skill set, learning how to sell, learning how to market your new company. That is your safety.
Yes. And learning to do things you thought you couldn't do before. Because believe me, this happens to me with my company all the time.
Every step of the way, because your company is you, like we talk about it a lot. Your company is you. You have nowhere to hide.
Yes.
Nowhere
Yes.
to
That's
hide.
absolutely
The
right.
only
No way.
limitation in your business right now is you and the blocks that you have.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And it's incredible. It's an incredible journey, and I really hope people get to experience it.
Yes.
It's amazing. It is it's like I think it's giving birth to a side of you. It's like you're really just creating like something that is going to take as much time as a kid, as much
Yeah.
time as a baby. It's going to consume you from that standpoint, but it's going to be just as rewarding. And it's
Oh,
just so
so
good.
rewarding. And also will pay your bills.
Yes.
Which children sometimes don't do.
Exactly. Children's cost you money. This one at least will make you money back.
I want to talk about like what's next, what you're excited about. But before we go there, because I'm mindful of the time, can you share with the listeners? Because there are so many listeners, and I've been coaching a lot of people who have this kind of next idea thing.
Yes.
What do you think was it for you that allowed you? Was it a mind shift? What allowed you to actually choose an idea, stick with it, and go through all of these uncomfortable stages of birthing process?
I think for me, it's understanding that I was doing it all wrong.
Mm.
And I thought I was building a bed of flowers. So every time I had I had a bed of flowers and I was putting roses and I was putting daisies and I was putting tulips and I was putting all of this stuff in that bed of roses and the bed of flowers. And then I had to think about, okay, the tulips need to be taken this way, taken care of this way, and the roses this way, and the daisies this way. And I'm like doing all this extra stuff when if I just create a bed of tulips and just take care of those tulips, then I can have yellow tulips and I can have pink tulips and I can have red tulips and like I can create something more big and more beautiful. The whole is starting something new every day. I start something new with my business every single day. That's
Yes, that's a big change, right? Where I was trying to show your brain is like, listen, but you are
yes.
doing new things. You're just actually progressing in one direction finally.
Yes. And allowing myself to have hobbies if I have the time. So I kept trying to monetize every single great idea that I have because
Mm.
I've been in corporate America long enough, because of my mother's teachings. Everything I do, even to today's day, my mama says, how much money is that going to be? So how much money is that going to bring you? How much money are you making? Right? Like it's and I don't obviously don't share a lot of that information, but like for me, it's more like that's my mother's bringing that everything you do has to bring you some money. Not everything you do has to bring you money. And establishing the lines of this is a hobby. And it's okay for me to do this as a hobby. Nobody's telling me, oh no, if especially as an immigrant, right? We're taught to work, 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 work. It's okay for me to want to write a children's book and publish it and self-publish it and put it out there in the world because it made me happy to make it and it made me happy to do it. That doesn't mean that's going to be my $1 million idea. So I think that the fact that I can start something new in my business every day, like right now, we're creating a product that I am so proud of and so excited. And within this one product, I have so many unlimited ways of my creativity showing up that I don't
Mm.
need to build another product for 2, 3 years. So it's so uplifting to know that I'm pouring into one thing. And it's I cannot define the words. I had this calendar set up. I don't think you knew this. I had this on the first of every month because of who I am and what gives me energy. I have start something new. So I have a reminder on my calendar on the first of every month of start something new. I have snoozed that part of my calendar for the last 9 months.
Love.
I have not needed to start something new.
Yeah.
And my husband is like, I don't know what they did to you. I don't know what happened, but I'm loving it, right? Because he sees me aligned, he sees me uh focused, and I am happier everywhere else in my life because of that.
Yeah, because I think it's so rewarding to finally see progress. Because when you were doing so many different things, or like have that bouquet of different flowers, you
Yes.
could not really grow them properly. You could not really take care of each of them, right?
Yes.
They wouldn't grow
Yes.
into something, and now you're building this tulip empire.
Yes, a
And
tulip
you,
empire.
what are you excited about? What is next for you in this business? If there are people who are listening here who are in HR or who are in companies who would like to tell their HR people or whoever decision makers are about this training, can you share a little bit about like what it is in simple terms so we understand what your company offers?
Yeah. So we offer coaching and training solutions for hybrid and remote teams, people that are working hybrid remotely. We do in person as well, but that's kind of our focus and our market because all of our trainings can be done remote. All of our coaching can be done remote. So we have two main products that we show up at the market with. One is our training programs that are built to the individual. So if you could have a team of 100 plus, and we will have an individually based training for each individual person. We have taken 60-year-old research and we have built different curriculums and we assess based on the necessity of each team and each person. So you will get individualized training, customizable to every single employee. And on top of that, you will receive asynchronous coaching. So it's not just you taking a training and not hearing from anybody ever, like, you know, how you do corporate trainings. And so that one is one of my that's a kind of flagship program that I've been doing for the last 3 years, as an executive coach, but now we have added the layer of the HIK method, which is 6 weeks, 30 minutes a week for you to hone in. Of those 6 weeks, 3 of those weeks, we spend it on the self. So the only thing you can control is yourself. So I have to teach you in the job, in the moment. The exercises are in the job exercises. You come back and report, and I'm teaching you how to like manage yourself, control yourself, and know, and have an idea how to implement your strengths. So for those HR people out there, if you're taking Gallup Strength Finders and nobody remembers their top 5 strengths and nobody remembers what they are, who they are, or how to use them, that's when you call us because we created that program specifically for that. The second one, which is the one that I'm super excited about, that you're not aware of it yet because we haven't chatted in some time, we have created our own AI coach. So we have two AI coach chatbots with all of the learnings and lessons that I teach my clients. And also, so if you finish the program with the HRK training method, we take all of the learnings for those 6 weeks and put it on your own personal AI coach. So when you are at work, you can just like you're going through a tough situation, you're like, oh my God, I'm gonna curse Joan out today. You can have that chatbot that you can go to and say, hey, I'm having a tough time with John. Well, let's explore some of the things that we did together. And we will give you all of the things and all of the tips that we have been giving you throughout the training on your own pocket coach. This is
Oh,
not a
wow.
replacement for coaching, but it is right? So you sometimes don't have your coach doesn't have time to meet with you right now in this next 2 seconds, but it allows you to do that. And we have that for our training programs. And then we also have the B2C part of that product, which is gamified and it has its own little mascot and is to help people continue to track their goals. And it's going to have chats like individuation for you to explore yourself, explore your beliefs. And that one is more for a B2C product. So
Oh wow, I didn't know about the AI coach. That sounds really cool.
yes, it
Do you
is.
think AI in the future? Someone asked me that the other day. They were like, "Do you think AI will like replace therapists and coaches?" And I was like,
No,
I don't think it can replace the human aspect and the connection aspect, right? It can intel it like it
no.
can give you some support and
Yeah,
answers.
it could be an and, right? I genuinely
Yeah.
believe that it could be an and. I do not think and I say this very openly in all speaking engagements I have, there's no replacement for human intelligence and creativity. And there's no replacement for human connection.
Yes, I
And
think connection especially, yeah.
those two things, I could not have accomplished what I accomplished with you with an AI chatbot. I
Well,
said
I
that.
hope not.
No, but it's important to say it out loud, right?
Yeah,
Because a lot
yeah,
of people are
yeah.
gonna be like, "Oh, I can just like tell ChatGPT to be my AI coach." And even for when we created this product, we are like, "Well, what can someone go to ChatGPT?" It's like, yeah, they can go to ChatGPT, but the 60 years of knowledge of executive coaching experience, the profiles that we create for people, and the research that we have done on all the different aspects of life coaching is not gonna be on the back end of AI because that is our own proprietary
Yeah,
information.
is your IP,
So,
is your
yeah.
intellectual property.
So I think that you can go in and do all that, but and even that will not replace having a one-on-one with someone like me or like you.
to everyone listening, if you wanna, where can people find more about this and you? Where should they follow you? Or
HIK, so hiktrainings.com.
Mhm.
So you can find us in that is our domain for all social media networks, and then also for our website, hiktrainings.com. And you can find out more about our products, us, what we do. You can contact us, and yeah, we're excited to hear from you if you have any need for any of this. So
Yeah, especially remote training and
yes,
coaching.
remote
I
and hybrid.
love that. We're gonna add that all to the show notes so you can click on all the links. Amazing. I can't believe you built that in a year. Karol would, because she has this amazing speed of execution, she would come to me like a month in her company. She would be like, Wilma, like, I'm getting really frustrated and I'm getting so impatient because the company is not built yet. I'm like, what are you talking about? You're building this amazing, now we know, a tech company, which is really complex. You're building proprietary intellectual property. It
Yes.
takes time. Like, even the fact that you have it all up and running and have a clients, right? At this point in time, that's spectacular.
Yes, yes, it is. It's thank you for saying that. Sometimes it was hard for me because I have never stayed this long with anything,
Hmm.
right? Which didn't allow me to be as focused and create something as incredible as it is right now. And right now I'm proud of everything that we have created. I really am, and I'm excited to see what happens next.
Yeah. Well, come for part two when you take over the world.
I will.
I have the final question I ask every single person who comes here on the podcast is sort of what advice would you have for others who are maybe Karol a bit over a year ago, or someone who's confused and not feeling like themselves and want to change, but they don't know how to go about it or what to do? What would be your advice?
If you are in that moment of your life, do not take for granted what hiring a holistic coach can do for you. And I say holistic specifically because I did not know it was a thing.
Yeah.
But I needed someone. I knew I wanted to do something else with my career, but my life also needed some like orientation, right? Like I knew that where I'm living right now was a place I did not feel comfortable living. Like it felt like we are slowly kind of fading away from being ourselves, which has led us to buying the house in Puerto Rico. And it has led us to other things, right? But like I feel like that's one. And I think pour into yourself, especially for us women. Like we are pouring into so many people, like having someone that is dedicated to you, to guiding you, and and you allowing yourself to pour into yourself and let your partners know, let your children know, like you need to be okay in order for all of the things that you got running run right. And I think that's what being a mother and a working mother in this environment, in this world, is really hard. It will really take a strain on you. You're not sleeping, you're not eating right, you're just running, running, running. You spend all your time in the car with kids. Like it will a lot of people are having mental breakdowns, and I know why. It's just a lot. But if you're not pouring into yourself, it's not going to help. So get help, the help you need to do that. You don't have to do it alone. And I think
Yeah.
for me, having someone like you, right? Like I was not in a mental place where I needed therapy, right? Like I was not at a place where it was I needed someone to see what I couldn't see.
Yeah.
And you were like, and you remember you telling me, I said, Karol, it's like it's right here, but you can't see it because you're looking like past your eyes. And I'm like, it's right in your front face, but you're like, I don't see it. That's exactly how it was, but I needed someone to point it out to me, and someone that had no agenda other than making sure that I was feeling aligned
Yeah.
to what I was meant to do in here in this world.
Yeah. And I always say that to people. I haven't asked Karol to say that. I'm not paying her to say that,
You're
okay?
definitely not, no, but I
It's all
appreciate
on
it.
it's all in her account. But it's but I love what you said. It's not even just hiring a coach or working in a coach, which is a big part of it, right? But it's also hiring a nanny. Do you remember
Yes,
when you
yes,
had that conversation with your husband? Or like hiring a house cleaner? Like what support do you need? Give it to yourself. And I think the issue, well, first of all, you're like a true Libra, so obviously you'll pour into everyone else but you, first of
yes,
all. Second of
yes,
all, I think like high achieving, competent, smart, intelligent women, a lot of the times they think they can figure it out on their own.
all the time.
And you don't feel comfortable asking for support ever.
Yes.
Because we're like, well, that person is worse off. That person is worse off. I'm fine. I'll figure it out. Let me like see who I can help and hold space for others.
Yeah. And you think you are making all the sense in the world and that you're showing up, right? And I can tell you looking back, I'm like, I know I was not showing up as my best self in
Mm-hmm.
many areas of my life because I was like, I got it, I got it, I got it, I got it. But
Yeah.
you are just, you're not aligned, like you are not aligned. So you are making abrupt decisions, you're making like all these different things. And I'm like, and saying things you shouldn't say, or like feeling things that you shouldn't feel. The other thing I will say, and this one happened in the last year, also working with you, your business or whatever it is that you're going to create is going to take so much energy from you, which is a good thing. Let me tell you why. That I have disconnected myself from anybody that was taking my energy for their own benefit and wasn't
Mm.
a sharing energy interaction. So anybody in my life that felt like was taking my energy away, whether it was through my own thoughts and they weren't physically there, or someone that just called me when they needed something, or someone that just called me for like all of those relationships have faded away from my life because I do not have the time to pour into something that is not going to pour back at me. Because right now I am building my thing, what will serve me and my family. My thoughts are so much cleaner. My thinking is so much clearer. Like I don't have time to think about, oh, he said this, he said that, he looked at me the wrong way. Like all of those thoughts, I'm like, no, don't have time for that. What are we going to do with my business? And every time I allow myself to daydream, never goes into anybody else's thoughts other than my kids, my partner, and my business. And that shifted, but it was through the doing. It
Mm.
was not going to happen any other way.
Yeah. Is through having a big enough and important enough goal
Mhm.
that takes all of these open tabs on other people, closes them, and you redirect your energy towards a goal that pulls you. And that's
Yeah.
what I always say, right? When something is aligned, it will pull you in. You'll get upset, you'll get angry one day. The next morning, you're gonna go wake up and be like, okay, how do we solve this?
Yes, exactly.
Literally
Exactly.
like that, right?
Exactly. That's exactly how it is.
Yeah. So love this. Okay. Anyway, I know it's a long podcast, so I don't want to make it any longer, but I could talk to you forever. Thank you so much for joining, for sharing your story, for being
Thank
open,
you.
for inspiring people, for spreading your light. And I hope that we can come for part two, where you have quit Microsoft and you have this amazing training company that's just disrupting the training industry, because I think that you're going to be that disruptor
I
with the
am
way that you
excited about it.
approach.
Yes, I can see it, and I'm super excited what we're creating, and it's gonna be really good. And thank you for having me here. I is again full circle. I
Yeah.
met you through your podcast before we met in person, and now
Yeah.
being here, it just makes me feel it's a very rewarding experience.
Yeah, like a full circle moment. You've done
Full
it.
circle.
It's
Yes,
you've
yes.
done it, and yet you're just getting started.
Ah, amen.
Amen to that. Thank you so much, Karol.
Thank you. Take care.
I hope you found this episode validating and inspiring. And if you're someone who's been feeling the urge to find a more meaningful and aligned career, I'd like to invite you to join the Holistic Career Change Group program. It's a group coaching experience that will help you find a new, exciting, purpose-led career or business that is specifically designed for you and will support you with your career transition. It's holistic, practical magic and career strategy all in one. If you'd like to learn more, I invite you to check the program details in the show notes. Let's make this year the year when you finally find your purpose.